Hello, my name is Lorena Ramirez from the University of New Mexico. This is a PowerPoint presentation on toddler growth and development. The objectives of this PowerPoint are to examine some aspects of toddler growth and development. We will be concentrating on the following: Erikson's psychosocial toddlerhood stage, Piaget's cognitive developmental theory in toddlerhood, motor skill development, speech development, socialization and dependence in toddlers. We will start by discussing Erikson's psychosocial stage of toddlerhood. Autonomy versus shame and doubt is Erikson's second stage of psychosocial development. Toddlerhood autonomy versus shame and doubt occurs between 18 months and 2 years of age. Autonomy is where the toddler starts to recognize that they are a separate individual. At this age, the toddler has begun to break the language barrier. They start to form sentences and increase their vocabulary. By this stage, they have also learned to walk. These types of accomplishments make the child feel autonomous, and they desire to be even more autonomous. This is a time where they are understanding that they are separate individuals. Autonomy involves everything from the thrill a 2-year-old feels when forming their first sentences to the joy they take in dressing or feeding themselves. This is also when you will see the terrible twos. They will have temper tantrums in order to try and achieve a certain task. You will see things such as outbursts, stubbornness, and having problems sitting still. Erikson used the words shame and doubt to refer to the situation when a toddler's drive for autonomy is not fulfilled. This is a stage where the child is able to build self-esteem, but they are also very vulnerable to low self-esteem because they feel shame and start doubting themselves due to the inability of not learning or not completing a certain task. This is a stage where the parents can do the most damage. For example, if a child did not complete the task of dressing themselves, the parents should encourage for them to try again, not to instill so much shame that they would not want to try again. Self-conscious emotions such as pride, shame, and guilt is a milestone, showing that a child is becoming aware of having an actual self. On the contrary, feeling these emotions of shame and doubt are not always bad. They may feel shame and doubt initially after failing a task, but if they try again, the feelings of accomplishments are much more rewarding. By having these accomplishments, they are becoming more aware of themselves as individuals. Next, we will continue with Piaget's developmental stage in toddlerhood. The pre-operational stage is Piaget's second stage of development. Pre-operational stage occurs between 2 and 7 years of age. Piaget describes the pre-operational stage as taking the world at face value. There is rapid mental growth and development at this time. The mental activity in this stage is figurative and/or symbolic. Pre-operational children take things at face value. They are unable to look beyond the way objects immediately appear. This is why toddlers are very attracted to puppets or children's characters. They believe that they are indeed alive. Another example is if a family member wears a mask, the child's concept of that person is what they actively see. They don't grasp the idea that it is still their family member even though they are wearing a mask. Another trait of toddlers' cognition is that they tend to focus on what is most visually appealing. Piaget called this centering. Centering is a child's tendency to fix on the most visually striking feature of a substance and not take other dimensions into account. This causes children to make mistakes in real-world tasks. They have perception of bigger is more or better. Children in the pre-operational stage are unable to perform conservation and reversibility. Conservation refers to our knowledge that the amount of a given substance remains identical despite its changes in its shape or form. Piaget's conservation tasks prove that children in this stage are unable to perform the task of conservation. During this task, they presented a child with 2 identical glasses filled with the same amount of water. The child knows that they contain the same amount of water because they look the same. When the child is presented with a taller glass with the same amount of water, the child's perception is that the taller glass has more water when in fact they both have the same amount of water. Children also don't grasp the reality of reversibility. Reversibility is the idea that an operation can be repeated in the opposite direction. They believe if you change something, you can't change it back. For example, when the color of a room is changed, it can always be repainted to its original state. Toddlers don't understand this. Now we will examine motor skill development in toddlers. Gross motor skill refers to the use of large muscles in the legs and arms, such as running, jumping, climbing, and hopping. Fine motor skill refers to the use of small muscles in the hands and fingers. They involve small coordinated movements such as writing, drawing, or picking up small items like Cheerios. At age 2, the child is able to pick up small objects with thumb and forefinger. They are able to use a spoon and or sippy cup. They walk unassisted, scribble on everything, and have learned to throw a ball. Toddlers initially use their whole arm to make a scribble. Grasping a crayon or marker, scribbling supports future writing and drawing skills. Providing these types of motor activities often improves their strength and in the future their readiness for preschool. Scribbling should be encouraged, of course, except not on the wall. Scribbling allows a child to enhance their fine motor skills, visually insight, and to be more in tune with their imagination. Next, we will look at toddler speech development. By the age of 2, children start to put together words. They start to form sentences with words they already know. They modify 2-word sentences to 3 or 4-word sentences. For example, they go from me juice to me want juice. They are able to understand others and follow simple commands. Things such as bring to mommy. Toddlers are able to verbally ask for objects. They also can verbally identify pictures of items and animals, and verbally identify their body parts. As they develop their language, it also encourages them to increase their social skills with both peers and adults. 2-year-olds should be able to speak clearly enough for parents to understand. Starting at 2 years of age is where they really start to pick up more vocabulary. This is a time where it is important to use proper vocabulary and language fundamentals. Now we will go on to socialization and dependence. By the age of 2, toddlers are expected to know right from wrong. They are able to distinguish if their parents will approve their actions. They start to feel the pressure of starting to act a little more grown up. They are expected to do things such as share, sit at the table, and have a meal. They sometimes feel so much pressure that this is also why they have temper tantrums, commonly known as terrible twos. When toddlers try out activities they can't quite do yet, they get frustrated and angry. They display this anger and frustration by breath holding, crying, screaming, and temper tantrums. These may be daily occurrences. Toddlers start to look for help when in trouble by 18 months. They are able to communicate that they need help when appropriate. By this time, they are capable of asking for help when they are independently trying to achieve a task. It is important for a child to learn from experiences and to be able to rely on consistent boundaries between acceptable and unacceptable behaviors. At this stage, they start to test the waters to see what's socially acceptable from both peers and adults. Toddlers are goal-oriented with peers and adults. They often engage in pretend play and simple game by 24 to 36 months. They find different strategies to decipher the peer-play relationship. Toddlers develop a theory of mind during the first 3 years. Their interest in peers and pro-social behavior flourishes. Increasing evidence suggests that young children engage in a variety of strategic behaviors aimed at improving their knowledge or accuracy. This is the end of the presentation on toddler growth and development. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.